everyone. It's so good to have you today, and I'm so excited about our guests that we have, Amie, Toste, and Tanya Vestal. And Tanya, I gotta say, is kind of my pick. But no, I'm just saying that Amie has supported Tanya through her whole journey of recovery, and but they're sisters, and they are here today to tell you about their journey in recovery, because I want everyone to know, I don't care how you're struggling, what you're going through, if there's breath in your body, there is hope for recovery. And I know parents struggle. I know that children struggle. You know, anyone that has anything to do with people with substance use disorders, it's hard. I'm not making light of it in any way, but I am here to tell you that there is success. We have success stories sitting right here in front of us. They're very prosperous in their life. They're fulfilling, helping people, mentoring people, encouraging people, and above all, they themselves are an encouragement. So I just want to let everyone know that we are still active in the community. We still have meetings nightly. Monday night is Better Days. Tuesday evening is Brianna's Hope, and that is over at Cross Point Biker Church. Wednesday night on McCann Street. Is it AA or NA?
AA.
It's AA, and that starts in the evening at 8 o'clock. And then on Thursday evenings, again on McCann Street, they have a meeting. And on Friday nights, there's a meeting. And now our Saturday, Brianna's Hope has moved from the evening till mornings at 9 a.m. and breakfast is served, and it's there at the Methodist Church on 8th and Central in the basement, and Pastor Frank is still leading those meetings, doing a great job. And then I believe on Sunday nights that I call him Big Mike is still doing AA in St. Gabe's in their parsonage. You might want to call and check on that, but I'm thinking they are still doing that. I called before I came to the show today, but I hadn't heard anything back. So I try to keep current on all the meetings so everyone can know when they are. And if you have any questions, you're always free to call the House of Ruth. I will help you in any way that I can to find a meeting, to find recovery, to find treatment, to find recovery homes, programs, any way that we can help you. We want you to know that we're available. So without further ado, I'm anxious for you to meet Amie, and she is doing a lot of great work. Tanya's always talking about her and how great she's doing, and we want you to meet Amie right now. And Amie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Amie. I'm a person in recovery from substance abuse, and I have been sober 7 years.
That's great.
Thank you. A little bit about myself. I come from a long line of addicts and alcoholics, and really didn't know other ways. Been to prison a couple times, been to jail multiple times. A couple times, went into a couple meetings there, and a seed was planted. But the thing that really brought me to a point of surrendering was opiates, and being a heroin addict. I thought it was bad when my kids were taken away from me and put in foster care. I thought it was bad when I lost everything that I owned, but what was really bad is when I lost myself, who I was as a human being. I woke up one day and it was gone, and I always say my God has great jokes, because when I ask for help, he always sends the sheriff's department. And
That's good.
I woke up in jail this time, and something was just different. And I was very fearful and scared, and I just put one foot in front of the other, and I listened to the people around me. The treatment center I went to was phenomenal. And I remember I had been there once before, and I remember seeing a woman named Lenora. And when she hugged me, I just cried. It was the first time I felt safe from myself in a long time, you know? And so I just did everything that was told of me by my sponsor, by the treatment center. And from there I grew, you know? Mm-hmm. And today I work in that treatment center, and I am a recovery coach. I have a home group. I go to meetings. I have a sponsor. I sponsor women. I also work with the county I live in to distribute Narcan in the area. They also have like a program that helps addicts get into treatment. They're doing phenomenal things. And it's just amazing the things that are there today that weren't there. Because I was on a waiting list when I went to jail, and I was on that waiting list for over 6 months. And I would call every day when I was going to find something to get well, and I would tell them everything I went through the day before just to make it through that day. And they called a couple times and thought I should go to an ER, and I did. And the ER gave me the same numbers to the same treatment centers that I was on the waiting list for, and I was sent back home. And when you have that small window of, I want help, and there's no help there.
There's no help, yeah.
When it's easier to go get heroin than it is to find help, that's a hard place to be. So it's amazing what's going on in our world today with, especially in a small town like this. This is a very small town, and there's amazing things happening here. I live in a bigger city, and you guys aren't far behind us. Yeah. I mean, I live not far from Chicago, and you're not far behind Chicago with making resources and different things for people to access help.
There's so much need.
There is.
Excuse me. There's so much need. And I think people are finally, because like you said, I mean, you're on a waiting list. You're crying out, you know, I need help. Please help me. And, you know, there's no place to go. And I think, you know, from the government down, we are seeing that, you know, we have to do something. It's beyond talking about it. It's beyond the surveys. It's beyond the, you know, the data. Okay, you have all that. Now let's do something. Let's put that stuff into motion. And I think that's where we're at. And I think it's phenomenal because you said you're a recovery coach working in the place. Tell me, how does that make you feel to walk in there to be able to show? Those women have to be like, wow, if you can do it, you know?
It is rewarding. It is also very hard when you know, it's a balancing act. Mm-hmm. Balancing my own recovery. I have 6 children. Mm-hmm. Balancing my life and trying to help other people. So, you know, trying to take care of myself, self-care, keep my spirituality well in order to be able to help somebody else. And I only work with heroin addicts. Mm-hmm. That's what the grant's for. I believe, and I'm not exactly for sure on this, that it came through the Opiate Crisis Act that we were given this grant for where I work. And so I only work with heroin addicts, but at the same time, every substance needs help with recovery coaching. So that part I feel bad about, because I'll get a female that's an alcoholic and she'll be like, you know, I need help with this or that. And, you know, recovery coaching is about wellness of life. A lot of people are like, oh, this is a person that's going to sponsor me. No, I'm not a sponsor. I'm not a therapist, but I am your resource person. I always say I'm like a Google search bar. You type in your need and I'll find you an answer, you know, so.
You're a resource broker.
Yes.
You know, when you need money, you go to the bank. When you need a treatment, you go to a recovery coach. Exactly. You have those resources available, and people need that. You know, because I'm sure you were in the same place. I mean, when you're in a hopeless situation, you don't know where to go. And that's where recovery coach comes in, and they're just worth their weight in gold, I feel like. You know, and I think it's great that that's what you do. And you, with 6 children, you know, and the balance, like you said, and trying to have self-care, you know, where does that fit in, you know? So it's true. I'm proud of you. I think it's wonderful. And Tanya, she's always telling me, she is your biggest cheerleader. I can tell you that. She is, and I can tell because when she's going to call my sister. I'm going to call my sister. And see, that's what's phenomenal. This is a true story of how families can recover together. It's not out of reach. It's not. unimaginable, because this is reality. And so many families, because I work with people, I mean, I have third generation, at the House of Ruth. I mean, every one of them has used it, and now I see their children. So actually, we're going into fourth generation of, drug, alcohol, abuse, physical, domestic violence, all the different, it all goes hand in hand. And I see that now. I mean, I have one young lady, 18 years old, that has been through more than what people that are 40 have been through. And it's like, wow, it's starting at such an early age now. And it's time that something is done in teens as well on up.
Yeah, and if there's the resources there to prevent it, because most people, they're not, it's not the substance that's really the problem. It's the underlying issues that have never been taken care of.
Yeah.
And mental health help, sexual trauma, therapy, all those things are very hard to access.
Yeah.
Even for people that don't have substance abuse, you know what I mean? Waiting lists are outrageous, well, when somebody's actually willing to get help and it's there, you know what I mean? That's where it changes stuff, so.
Yeah. Well, and then too, with COVID,
Yes.
I mean, that just kind of put the icing on the cake. It's like there's so many, the mental health, the dual diagnosis, everything is just so impacted now. And people are, it's like you said, the waiting list is like, oh my Lord, they can't get to them. Even in a small community as we are, there's waiting lists. You have to wait 2 and 3 weeks, to get into one facility. And used to, you could get them in a day or two. And it's like, so the impact has definitely, as the old saying goes, the rubber's met the road here. We got to do something. And I feel very fortunate and very honored to be able to be a part of helping women get their lives back together, helping them, encouraging them, mentoring them, just showing them there's a better life. You have to see it. When you've been raised to not know, it becomes a normal way of life. And people says, why do they do that? Because it's normal to them. That is their norm. Yes. Not everyone has a Leave It to Beaver life. That's almost, out of the ordinary. Because of, and we talk about, children raising themselves, grandparents raising their children. I mean, that's a lot of society today. It's not everyone. Everyone is not on drugs, and everyone doesn't have. But the people that do, we need to help and encourage them, to be the person that God meant for them to be. But Tanya, tell me a little bit about you, girl.
Well, let's see. Well, of course, Amie and I's parents are still on drugs. They haven't been together since I was 8 years old. So, our health, what was normal for us was our dad being in prison 75% of my life, and I'm 3 years older than her and 6 years older than our brother who still struggles. And so drugs and alcohol became a big part of my life when I was 10, so I've struggled for 34 years. Next month, I'll have 3 years sober.
That's amazing. Yes.
It took being arrested 18 times for it to finally settle in that I didn't want to be in jail no more. Right. I was tired of being locked up. I had, by God's grace, I got drug court, which was a great opportunity for me, and I got the House of Ruth because the prosecutors said that I wasn't going to get either one. They just wanted to send me to prison. They wanted to give me 16 years actually on one of my charges, and I had 5 felonies. And so I got into the House of Ruth without having a driver's license for 12 years. And I never thought I'd ever have a driver's license because I had some very outstanding things going on in Illinois that were like over $7,000, And then there was a lot of things I never thought I'd accomplish. I didn't need a GED because who needs a GED in their 40s? Who needs a credit score in their 40s? Who needs anything like that? I'm just going to live life to the best of its abilities, and that's just what it is. I'm gonna get through these programs, and I'm gonna be all right. I've never accomplished anything, not even parenthood. I couldn't even raise my kids to be 18. I left, you know. So I got in the House of Ruth, and I got my driver's license, which was amazing. They waived all my stuff, and I think what I pay like $70 and like $300 in fines here. So like less than $400, I got my license back, which was amazing. I pushed and I procrastinated because I'm good at doing that. And I ended up getting my GED, thank God.
Yes, you did.
And I graduated the House of Ruth in drug court. And I went on, and I'm going to go to college August 2nd. And I've also take my test for recovery coaching Wednesday. You know, and it's taken a lot of work, you know. And the 34 years that I used, I also shot dope for the 23 years of that. And I've overdosed. I overdosed and was more or less dead 2 days before I went to jail. And there's no doubt in my mind I'd have been dead right now if I wouldn't have went to jail. So jail saved my life. You know, it's amazing. I went to a drug coalition, and because I really want to work in this community to help save people, you know, to put it out there of what this community needs to help people to get into rehabs and the resources they need. Because when I would hit them little rock bottoms, you know, because alcohol was a big part of my life, drugs and alcohol. I would call a rehab, and they'd be like, well, do you have insurance? No, I don't have insurance. Well, are you court ordered? No, I'm not court ordered. Well, then, you know, we can't do anything. We can't do this. We can't do that. And there was always these stumbling blocks in front of me that I could not get help when I needed it, you know? So it really sucked. So now it's like I've been going to different, you know, meetings and talking to people and telling them, like, what in this community do people need, you know? What kind of resources do we need? What stops people from getting help? Like I said the other day, someone that's on probation or parole, do you think they really want to go to their probation officer or the parole officer if they've relapsed? No, they don't. They don't want to go to prison. So let's make it where there's some kind of safety net so they don't overdose and die because they're afraid because they messed up. Because what happens is it's a domino effect. Oh, God, I screwed up. The reality is I screwed up, and I don't want to face it, so I'm going to keep getting high. And guess what happens? We find them dead. Because that's what happens. And I know because I've been doing this most of my life. So I know. I've been out there. I know. Mm-hmm. And I haven't just been doing that here. I'm from Los Angeles, California, so I've been doing it all the way across the United States. You know, so it's like it happens everywhere, and it's the same scenario everywhere you live. So we need to break those barriers and get help to these people so they know there's a safety place that they can go and say, hey, I need help. I don't want to go back to prison. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want my kids taken. I need help. Can you please help me? And that they know that they can get help. So that's why I want to reach out to the community and go to these meetings and go to places and say, hey, there's help for you. And there's help for people my age. People my age can still get help. People in their 50s can still get help. You can still get your GED, your college degrees. You can still get your driver's license. You can go to rehab. You can do whatever you want if you set your mind to it. I actually have a credit score now that's over 600. I never had a credit score, and I'm so proud of that credit score. I took screenshots and sent it to people. I'm like, I have a credit score. I cannot believe this. I have 2 credit cards. I'm like, I've never thought I'd ever have that. I never thought I'd do that.
Well, you have your own vehicle.
I have a vehicle too, with it has insurance on it. And look, my brake light goes off and on all the time, and I can't even get the cops to pull me over to look at my driver's license. That's like, what is the problem here? If I was illegal, they'd be pulling me over. I'm legal, and they won't even pull me over. What is the problem?
Yeah.
But it's just amazing what has been before me because I am sober today, and it's like I don't have to look what's behind me. I look what's in front of me today. And what's bad is now I have a son that is suffering, that he's overdosed 4 times in less than a year. But Narcan has saved my son's life 4 times. 4 times Narcan has saved my son's life. He's only 21, and he needs help. So we need to put that stuff out there.
Yeah.
You know, and he's in Harlan, Kentucky, where they are blind to so much right now. So it's like I want people need to know.
Educating.
Yeah, education
You know,
is such a big thing right now.
Such a big thing, yes.
They need to know. It's like when I called the hospital out there and I'm like, I asked them, did you test my son for fentanyl? And my sister was in the car with me, and I was talking to the lady about carfentanil. That nurse had no clue, and that was this nurse. She's been twice with my son. My son flatlined, and the second time he had a breathing tube down him, and they had no clue to test my son for fentanyl. They're like, we didn't find no heroin in his system. No, he's doing fentanyl. Mm-hmm. You know, and they had no clue there, and that's the sad scenario. And there's people dying there really bad right now, and it's because they have no clue what they're fighting against there right now.
And you know, I think people are willing to learn. I think we went through an overwhelming stage when so many people were overdosing, and there are so many drugs out there right now that can kill you. It's not like it used to be. I mean, there's stuff that, one time, you know, and you can die. One time. And it's one of those things that, because like we were just saying, you know, jail saved your life. Yes. And what was the saying you said about the sheriff?
Oh, yeah. When I ask God for help, he always sends the sheriff.
He always sends the sheriff.
Yeah.
You know, lots of times, I mean, as parents, we pray, you know, God, you know, what can I do? Save my, you know, help my son, help my daughter, help, you know, and then the sheriff, you know, arrests them. They're like, oh, I got to get him out of jail. No. Leave him. And I know that I tell people that, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cold. That's my son. Let them stay. Let someone get to them that can help them. You know, people go in the jails now, recovery coaches, there's people that they can talk to. And I go to meetings all the time. Tanya knows this. I am meeting to death. My thing is, you know, at those meetings, you are the people that should be at those meetings. You're the ones that should be sitting there saying, this is what we need. This is what happened when I needed help. This is what they told me. This is, you know, we need people in there, not people that are trying to figure out what we need. We need the people that has figured it out. And they can go in there and say, this is what you need to do. This is how I got help. This is where I got help. This is what you need to do. Because that's the facts. That's the reality of living on the street, coming off the street, doing what is needed to be done. You know, talking with, just like you had a picture with Judge Freed and your arresting officer.
Oh, yes, Chad Blaze. I seen it, and you know what? I seen him and I cried. And I told him, thank you. I said, you saved my life.
Yeah.
You saved my life. That was one of the best things. And, you know, and it's, and my CI, one day I want to shake his hand and tell him thank you. Because, you know, and I've thanked Betty Jones. I've thanked Judge Freed. Judge Freed hugged me 3 times at my graduation and told me he was proud of me. And that made me feel so good. And also I work in a recovery home now in Shelbyville with some wonderful ladies. I work in a recovery home now, and it's amazing because I'm giving back what's been given to me, and I'm helping ladies to see that it's achievable, you know, and it's amazing. And I just love to be able to thank people, you know, for being arrested. I mean, it took a few times for me to be arrested, but I'm a little bit hard-headed in a few states, but I mean.
But isn't it amazing, like you said, I mean, you know, here, you know, 5 years ago, to hug your arresting officer, you'd have been like,
oh, no.
You know, get him out of my face, get him out of here.
Yeah.
And now that you're sober and you have your clarity of thinking and you have, you know, all of that, it's like, thank you.
Yes.
You know, because when people, and this is one thing I let people know, and I'm sure you see this working with women that you do in your recovery center, and you only work with the heroin, you know, people struggling with heroin. But when they come in there, they're not thinking. If they were thinking with their right mind, they would not be doing what they're doing. And when people say statements like that, I'm like, you know, well, they just need to stop. Really?
And then jails and places like that aren't treatment centers or mental health institutions.
Yeah.
You know, you got correctional officers that get stuck in prisons and jails that don't have substance abuse or mental health services. for the population of people that are going in there, that they're trained as a correctional officer, not as a mental health therapist or a drug therapist going through people with withdrawal. And I mean, some withdrawals can be deadly. Alcohol can kill you, benzodiazepine can kill you, so.
Seizures, you'll go right into full-blown seizures.
And I know here you guys have a drug court, and lots of communities are doing the drug courts. We have drug court where I'm from, and it does do great things. But another thing that, I know there's a very small population here, and this doesn't take a lot to know about, but 12-step recovery is immense because it's not only, like people want to say, that people need therapy and REBT skills, if they could change their thinking, they could change their outlook, they could change their action. If you look at all those things, if you look at the practices of Celebrate Recovery, if you look at the practices of 12-step recovery, if you look at the practices of what's taught in treatment, they're all REBT skills.
Yes.
They're all about changing your perception. And when you can change your perception on something, even like childhood trauma and stuff like that, people don't realize that all those bad things will eventually be the blocks which you build your foundation on, and what you can share with another human being, so then they can understand that somebody understands them and somebody's been where they've been before. And being a recovery coach, I know you're going to be new to it, is not always, I don't take responsibility for their success or their failure, but I'm a human being, and losing people or watching them just excel and then decline, and people have to save themselves, but it's great to have the resources there when they do want to do it. So for as small as a town as you guys are, you guys have a tremendous amount of resources out here, that you guys are doing some great things with all the stuff you're doing, because this is a small rural place. Yeah.
And we have all kinds of people, and they'll come to our community like, wow, we don't even have that going on at ours. We are so blessed. We are so blessed because, like we said, we have drug court, we have harm reduction. They just opened a Connection Cafe. That's where people can go and use the internet. Anyone is welcome, in addiction or whatever. Was you going to say something?
I just remembered I was supposed to be there the other day.
But the thing about it is it gives you and the meetings that we have, the House of Ruth, there's so many things going on and more coming. We're working on a project right now that we're working with the emergency room departments, and we're working with different treatment centers across the state, to make sure that people have 24-hour-a-day treatment availability, going right into and with the police department and the EMS. We're working on a lot of stuff that, the community doesn't even know about yet, and because it's never ending. And it's like you said, my biggest, and I'm a recovery coach and certified recovery specialist, community health worker, blah, blah, blah. But that's not God called me to help these women. And that's what I intend to do. And I tell them all the time, we got to change your stinking thinking. You got to get to the root of the problem. We got to get, you got to change. We're not on the street anymore. We've got to change the way you think, educate you. Lots of times it's just education, resources, getting them to the right people, getting them, teaching them. I'm a firm believer because my help came from God, but there are so many pathways to recovery, so many. They branch out everywhere, and just getting people to the right place, the right people, the right recovery, the right treatment center, getting them the help they need. It is a job, but it is so rewarding.
Yes,
and so
is.
Just look at you two. Two beautiful women sitting here, and look how you've overcame. And that's what I want to tell everyone that is watching. Let these women, Amie and Tanya, be an encouragement to you. Be an encouragement for your children. Be an encouragement to knowing that your prayers are being heard. Even if it's the sheriff that comes knocking on the door, let it be. let it be so. There's however form of that help that it comes. Allow it to happen, and just know that there are resources, there are places, there are things that we can help you with, things that you can do to help your family, to help people recover. And thank you so much for tuning in today. God bless you, and we'll keep you in our prayers.
And thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.